Hello and welcome to Digi8.com. In this video, we are going to cover the topic on communication styles. Now let's start with what are communication styles. Communication styles used depend on the scenario. One approach might go well with one employee, while the other might work for someone else. Communication styles can be used together. People change their approach according to who is the recipient. Now let's look at the types of communication styles. First, assertive communication style. It is believed to be a communication style that is the most efficient. The person taking this approach is convinced of what they are saying. They don't manipulate or put pressure on people like the other styles. They look for agreement and compromise by listening closely and saying what they need and want. A very important part of being assertive while communicating is knowing when to say no. This has to be done politely but firmly. Such communicators are very confident about themselves. They do not resort to aggressive or passive communication. Moving on to the process for communicating assertively. First, both parties should be given importance, as in, the needs of both parties should be taken into account. One has to seek solutions, be optimistic and willing to listen to the other side. And next, talk with confidence. The strategy for a person who lacks confidence is, fake it till you make it. One should have faith in themselves. Moving on to the second style, that is the aggressive communication style. This approach can include threats and hostility. The person using this style wants to get what they want by any means necessary. An aggressive communicator acts like their part of conversation brings the most to the table. Sometimes the message is drowned by the tone they use. This type of communication can result in people feeling insulted, ignored, and afraid. Some business leaders use aggressive communication styles to show that they are brave. Remember, this has to be done skillfully in a controlled way, not to come off as dominating. In daily work, this does not make co-workers like someone who is using this style. The general idea is to not use this style unless needed. Moving on to using aggressive style for communicating properly. Remember, an aggressive and an assertive communicator both are equally confident. In this case, the message and delivery of the request should depend on the effect that it will have on the audience. Next, body language must be kept in control. Aggressive communicators use motions, tone of voice, and physical closeness to show they have the power in a discussion. This might not aid communication. It might be necessary to go softer. And finally, different way of looking at things may be needed. Cooperation makes success more likely. The point of discussion is not a victory, it is finding a solution. Moving on to the third style, that is a passive communication style. This is also called a submissive communication style. It can also be described as a people-pleaser style. This type of communication avoids conflicts and decenters the self. However, this style can also build anger if the person does not put forth their wants, needs, and opinions. It might be tough for them to talk about what they think and not get into conflicts. This can cause good ideas never to be expressed. This can also lead to misunderstandings. In this case, overcoming passive style of communicating. First, learn when to say no. One has a limited capacity for the workload. They can create boundaries at the office. This ensures a person's people-pleasing nature is not exploited and they are not overburdened. And finally, one should be confident of what they bring to the table. As stated earlier, the fake it till you make it tactic makes one look assertive even when they are not confident. A slow start initially can improve confidence. Moving on to the fourth style, that is a passive-aggressive communication style. This style brings together parts of the passive and aggressive styles. The passive is the face of it. The aggressive is right underneath the surface. On the surface, the communicator appears easygoing and sweet, as the image on the left. However, they're driven by resentment and fury which rises and comes out in the form of gossiping and starting rumors. This approach can turn the office toxic. It creates resentment and discontent in the whole department or team. How to deal with one's passive aggressiveness? First, the purpose of communicating should be known. Is there a desire to find a solution or is it retaliation? One should pay attention to how conversations are had. And next, the focus should be on solution-oriented, optimistic dialogue. And finally, the source of the anger must be found. Sometimes an employee might feel they are not being heard. They might feel they are not being paid attention to. And the cause has to be found and escalated to the manager. And finally, the manipulative communication style. Such styles of communication employ influence, lies, and shrewdness to influence the result of a discussion. It tries to influence how people act. The words of such communicators are not genuine. They hide their intentions to get what they want. The other person might not even notice. This approach is patronizing and dishonest. When people figure out what they have been duped, they are cold in future interactions. Thus, how to deal with the manipulative communication style. First, be honest and straightforward. One should be forthcoming about their desires and intentions. One must train themselves to be direct. They must learn to take a no for an answer. And finally, don't play with emotions. Appeals to emotions must be avoided in a conversation. One should be direct, precise, and factual. So that's it, folks. This brings an end to the topic of communication styles. These are some of the sources and links referred to for the content in the video.
Thank you and see you in the next video.